since the very beginning of her practice. So, yeah.
Nadia, what about you?
For me, South Asia is a bit different. I mean, since I said I collect from modern masters to young and contemporary, young and established contemporary artists, collecting in South Asia is quite challenging because of the lack of infrastructure. And you know, there are hardly any galleries besides the ones in India and a very few in Pakistan, and the rest of South Asia, the galleries don't represent artists. So, and the artists are on their own. And there are also hardly any contemporary museums locally. So for me, what I find very interesting is to keeping all these challenges in mind to discover artists. So for me, it takes a while. Like, you know, it's important for me to see an artist's journey first, and then to collect a strong body of their work. Yeah, and then like I said that, you know, we collect South Asian. Lately, what we've been doing is, since I collect mostly contemporary artists, but right now what I find interesting is we're also collecting modern artists that have influenced the living artists that we've been collecting. For example, Rashid Rana or Shazia Sikandar, who've been highly influenced by Zahrullah Clark. So right now, I'm enjoying this part of going backwards, the journey.
Well, I was lucky because in the 90s, London was actually very quiet. The prices was very low. And I had this opportunity to start this collection. And I have to, contrary to those ladies, I have to say that I binged. I actually went quite berserk. I had, my husband was very, very generous, and he established actually Cranford Collection, so it could be independent from us, from the family, because he always thought that maybe one day it would become something bigger than expected. So in the early years, I looked at project space, I looked at galleries, I bought intensely, and this is how I learned. But I learned because I was buying very good artists who were all thriving in London. There were a whole group of them. They were called the YBA, and they happened to hit it, you know, the right note. It was all Damien and Gary Hume and Rachel Whiteread, and you could see them and talk to them, and Sarah Lucas, and so they were contemporaries, they were affordable, they spoke my language, they had my sensibility, but of course you sober up after a while, and then you just have to make more sense, so you start taking it more seriously, buying less, learning more, and then you take it a little bit more seriously. And this is how we started looking at the older generation. And we were still lucky there because the Germans were not fashionable at the time. I mean, you could still buy a Richter or a Polke, and if you really liked it, and if you had this conversation with, you know, the right people, the people who cared also. And so I felt very privileged throughout my life because I was always held. I was held by talented people, and I was also, the great things is they were not only commercial people. I worked with professors, and I worked with critics, and I worked with writers. So those people had no interest in the commercial world. And I think that was a very good start for my collection, because everybody came from a good point. We were discussing art, we were looking at art, we were experiencing, we were having dialogues. And I mean, I'm doing that, because although the collection has become a little bit more important, that's exactly what I do. I have regular meetings with curator, they make me discover things. I don't do too many studio visits, because I always think, you know, I have artists in very high esteem, and I always think that the studio is really their sanctuary, and we shouldn't really intrude too much. So I like to meet them socially, I like to have them around for dinner, I like to have the dialogue, and I only go there very seldomly, and only if I'm asked. So that's what I do. And eventually this is what I did, and I'm having great fun because like people ask me to come and, you know, select artists for the Max Mara Prize, which is a very prestigious prize, and I love doing that because it's talking about women artists and things like that. And then the Guerlain come and they have a big foundation, say, would you come and talk about, you know, and select things about drawing, and I learn more about this. And then, you know, the Tate comes and say, would you like to sit on our executive? And I say, yes, of course, and it's all very exciting. So it's really, the art has opened frontiers to me that never knew existed, made me meet things that I never know were attainable, made me think in a way that I never thought I was capable. So it's changed my life, it changed the life of people around me, and so collecting, yes, engagement, of course, dedication, totally. It takes all my mind, all my life. I mean, it's become, this is my new vocabulary. This is like discovering a new world, and I'm still like a child. I'm like, I can't believe that I can actually meet and access and experience all those things. And if tomorrow there was no fund to carry on with the God forbid, of course, but I will carry on being engaged with it. So I think every person here should not be afraid of collecting or, you know, being worried about what you like and you don't like, because the engagement will take you where you should be, and the journey will be worth it whether you have a great collection or not.
Well, that is an inspiring comment on really how to look at collecting, which is absolutely fascinating. But it also raises something which is very interesting, which is this whole thing about having an advisor or not advisor. Some people really find an advisor or a collaborator in terms of collecting extraordinarily helpful, other people less so. What about Valeria? What's your...
I don't, because it will take away so much pleasure and the journey that you are talking about, Muriel. This is a journey, a personal journey, a journey of growth, of discovery about yourself, about the world around you. And for me, the moment where I discover an artist, I read, I engage in conversation, I engage in visual, research, reading and seeing and looking at her work. It's exciting. It's opening my mind, opening my heart, everything. And it's changing me. So I would never give it away to the moment of discovery. Of course, you can have but I think it's just I want it all for myself, and I enjoy it. I enjoy it. I'm a down-to-earth person, quite ready to work, hands-on, and I enjoy this solid work of going, discovering, and analyzing, and engaging. It takes a lot of energy, but it's priceless.
For me, see, I have two collections. So for the Foundations collection, yes, I do work with advisors and I have a curator. I need that because we collect quite strategically, and it's important for her to, my curators, to do their research in exactly what we want to do. And because we also host the Dhaka Art Summit, which is once in every 2 years. So, and it's a South Asian dedicated event. So, and we also do a lot of public commissions. So we definitely do work with curators and advisors. But on the other hand, I have the personal collection, which I enjoy, and it's my, it's just me and my husband when we travel and to different fairs, we meet artists, we like any artists, we try to get to know them and to do studio visits. It's a different kind of pleasure of its own, and then because if it's for our home, it has to fit in, and it has to relate. I have to be able to relate, and it has to. So yeah, that's my. I'll work with both. Thank you.
Personally, I don't have an advisor. I like to do it myself. I'm with Valeria in that aspect, and Muriel, and Nadia, because also. But when it comes to my own collection, it's my choice, and it's product of my life experience and my fountain of knowledge that I've acquired by all these different experiences that I've explained that I had before. But as I had two important acquisition bodies for two very important museums, the Tate and the Guggenheim. There, of course, it's all about what the museum wants to buy and what the curators have been able to find for the committee to purchase. So there, of course, it's very important that we hear all the opinions. And as we all know, museums go through a very intensive vetting process. And I love that because I learn, and I like to learn. And my whole life has been about learning about art, and I go to art fairs, and I'm obsessive about going to museums and visiting artists, and I guess I can call myself finally a dedicated art collector. So I would have to say, yes, I am a dedicated art collector to answer the question that this panel is about. So like I said, personally, I don't require a curator, although I have access to all the curators when I have a doubt, or when when something comes up and it's very, very important, especially to my pocket. I will obviously call somebody that I know in the world of art and get their opinion.
Well, what's so interesting is that you're all curators of your collection. You all have your own museums, but they're museums that you live with. So the question that I find endlessly fascinating is, if I should wake up tomorrow with the funds to be a collector, where would I start? What would I buy? How would I make the choice to buy the first work? And how would I build on a collection? Because a collection is all about building, it's about making. So what would your advice be to a young collector? Not that I'm saying that I'm a young collector, but what would your advice be?
My advice would be to join the boards of museums, different museums, wherever you are, your local museum, your preferred museum. Participate. Go to every art fair like you are here, shows, galleries, artist studios. Learn. Just learn. Fill yourself with this passion of looking at things, and that will eventually educate your eye, and it's so much fun, because collecting is about fun, collecting is about passion, and look as much as you can all over with an open mind and with your heart.
But what I'm keen to, well, thank you. What I'm keen to understand is also how you form the collection, how you make the choice between one work and another, Muriel. And does it matter, just to finish my own question, does it matter whether they all fit well together, or can you have anomalies in a collection so that it's not a kind of homogenized whole?
I don't think it can ever be homogenized. I mean, no, I think I started by liking the artist, looking and choosing the best that I thought. And believe me, they turned me down. Every time I walked in a gallery, there was always somebody more important than me. And there's always somebody bigger, richer, but it doesn't matter, shouldn't matter. You should go in and you should actually have a dialogue. Whether it's a curator, whether it's a gallery, you should always go and tell them, and really have the confidence to say, I like it because, and I don't like it because. And if you do it enough times, they will take you seriously. You just have to put your neck on the line and say, I've come here, you've ignored me, I like this piece, I'd like to know more about it. Tell me more, show me more, teach me. You know, that's what they're here for. Whether it's the museum, whether it's a gallery, whether it's a project space, or a commercial gallery, and they would love to do it. And then once you do that, believe me, no one knows it all. No one. And you know, nobody has the, when we talk about some people, not everyone knows. Of course there are people in the know. And this is why I like to surround myself. I do have a curator, but actually they are all intellectuals and they're not there, as I said, for the commercial. But it's not for that, it's to actually have a conversation, to have a dialogue. For me to say I like it because, and for her to tell me yes, and maybe make me discover something else. So really it's more of an intellectual exercise rather than an advisor on the commercial side. But you can build it with like this. I mean, you know, you go to the Serpentine and every time you go there, you're not sure about the show and whatever. You talk to the people standing there, the guys who's at the door, the guy who's been watching that work all day, the curator and all that. They will tell you, you go out of there having achieved something. And every time you go somewhere you think you like it, ask, talk, it's all right. No one knows it all.
Valeria, you started on very clearly, I think, with focusing on women, collecting women. What informed that decision? Because out of all the discussion we've had so far, this is a very clear remit to what you will buy. Has a male artist ever slipped into your collection?
Well, it's not about excluding someone. It is about including what I love and I connect to. So I was living in New York at the time, and I was finishing my art gallery administration program at FIT, and that took me 2 years in the art world, which I didn't know. My parents were collecting Renaissance furniture and pieces, tapestries, and so I was involved in that since I was little. So that trained probably my aesthetic eye, my eye for beauty. And the beauty I find in New York with contemporary artists goes deeper because it goes into the people, it goes into the concept behind the work, it goes into the artist studio. This is why I love going to artist studio, because you really discover so much, and it's something that you have at your disposal, and they love it. They enjoy engaging with you. It's you giving back, actually. I never had an artist who hated it. Some artists are more shy and not people. Some others are really super generous. So in terms of focusing on women, I was engaging at the time in New York.